What's up with everybody? It's your man Moya B.
And Nicole.
And we're back at some more reaction videos. How Tywin Lannister commanded respect. Yeah, man, we definitely like Game of Thrones. It's a great show. Tywin Lannister, I mean, the guy definitely commanded respect.
Yes, he does.
That's one person Joffrey didn't want to mess with.
Yeah, nobody messes really with Tywin. I mean, you have a couple people who aren't afraid of him and will like match him, but most people you don't mess with him. And I think part of his power is the money he has behind him.
Yeah, he has a lot of money, man. So I'm surprised he never wanted to be like the king of the Iron Throne.
I think he knows that you actually have more power behind the king.
Yeah.
So like his plan was always kind of be the man behind, and
control the
so
king.
he kind of always controlled everything anyways, not being the king.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. So we definitely finna check this out and hopefully this will be great.
Tywin Lannister is a beast. He effectively served as king for many years under Aerys and wielded massive influence over Robert and Joffrey. He would have continued to be the power behind the throne had he not been so horrible to Tyrion. More on that later, but that's not the point. In this video, I want to explore why Tywin was able to command so much respect, breaking down everything from his body language to his strategies. But to start, let's note where Tywin's power does not come from.
I am the king! I will punish you.
Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king.
This is the most important sentence that Tywin ever says. According to Tywin, power does not come from telling other people that you have it. It comes from showing them. Tywin does that in many ways, and I want to start with some of the sub-communications of power, meaning the things that Tywin does with his body language and his voice. And I have to give Charles Dance here massive amounts of credit because he did a phenomenal job of acting these scenes out. So let's explore how Tywin enters crowded conversations. First off, with a boom.
I'm told we still have his sisters.
The first order of business is ransoming Sir Jaime.
No truces. We can't afford to look weak. We should march on them at once.
First, we must return to Casterly Rock to raise
They
more.
have my son!
Now, you may struggle to be heard when there's a lot of people speaking. Many of us do. You might stop and start, try to find your way in politely, and ultimately not get listened to at all. But not Tywin. He startles people by going from silent to booming in an instant. That grabs attention immediately. But what's interesting is that he often doesn't stay booming for too long.
No, he doesn't.
Once he has attention, he quiets right back down.
He does,
This makes his quiet mode of interaction just as frightening as his booming tone, because you never know when he's going to switch.
They have my son! Get out, all of you.
He went curve with Tyrion.
You don't need to scream like Tywin does, but the lesson of entering with a slightly louder and deeper tone is one that applies just as well to modern-day interactions. Pay attention to any group, and you'll see that the person who is listened to when there's a lot of people trying to speak is often the loudest when entering. Don't stay loud forever, though, if you're going to use this small piece of advice, because that can just be obnoxious. You may also have noticed that Tywin is very comfortable with silence. This is a power move that I discussed in another video, so I won't spend too long on it, and I'll link to it here if you want to click the little white button in the corner. But Tywin likes to use silence right after people have said something to provoke him. It gives them a few extra seconds to regret their decision to stand up to him and to sit in fear of what he might do next.
My father won the real war. He killed Prince Rhaegar. He took the crown while you hid under Casterly Rock.
You messed up. You know you messed up, right?
The king is tired. See him to his chambers.
The silence that Tywin makes creates a stare down like you might see for boxing or UFC promotions. The first person to flinch or look away loses, which is why fighters go to such great lengths to not give an inch of ground. And this isn't just an arbitrary rule that was made up for boxing. Flinching and breaking eye contact are built-in evolutionary tells that communicate fear, which is why they can sometimes matter even more than raw strength when it comes to a confrontation. Because when one animal isn't afraid, that's a good sign that it has an advantage that needs to be respected. Just watch this charging gorilla back off when a puny little human doesn't flinch, even though the gorilla could obviously tear him limb from limb.
Charged and charged and charged again. And I think, and I'm sure, if I would have even flinched once.
But Tywin's sub-communications of power go beyond the ape realm. His word choice is a distinctly human way of using power. He doesn't ask people what to do or make threats by saying, if you do this, then I'm going to respond like this. He tells people what they are going to do using the word will. It conveys absolute certainty that they will do as they are told. And again, the certainty that Tywin will be listened to adds to the sense that he should be listened to. Just watch.
You will go to King's Landing.
And do what?
Rule. You will serve as Hand of the King in my stead. You'll bring that boy king to heel, and his mother too, if needs be. So one more thing. You will not take that whore to court. Do you understand?
The circular logic of subcommunications is kind of how they work, because when people signal through subcommunications that they have power, we assume they ought to and respond accordingly, which elicits more subcommunications of power. A similar thing occurs with Tywin's inflection at the end of sentences. It's always downward, emphasizing that this isn't a question, like this. Listen to Joffrey do the reverse, asking Tywin a question with an upward tone, kind of like this. This is great acting, which mirrors real life. When people feel nervous or lacking in power, they will naturally begin to ask questions and flip their intonation upward, like in this scene.
The council meetings in the Tower of the Hand, instead of the small council chamber.
I have, yes.
May I ask why?
Don't get me wrong, there are times when you will want to ask questions and speak with an upward inflection. For instance, players like Tyrion and Littlefinger use more subtle lines of questioning to make someone act and feel like it was their idea to do what Tyrion or Littlefinger wanted. That strategy tends to work better in modern times as well. For instance, when speaking to employees, you may prefer to say, "Could you please do this for me?" rather than demand it of them. That way they feel less put upon and happier to help you.
Obviously.
But Tywin doesn't care if people are happy to help.
gonna say.
His strategy is to create fear.
He might be the lowest of the Lannisters, but he's one of us. And every day that he remains a prisoner, the less our name commands respect.
So the Lion does concern himself with the opinions
No, that's not an opinion, it's a fact. If another house can seize one of our own and hold him captive with impunity, we are no longer a house to be feared.
We'll come back to that in a minute, but for now, let's look at how Tywin manipulates situations to further take the people he interacts with out of a confident state. First, he often makes people wait before he speaks to them.
Yeah. He totally does.
This is a tactic that is still used today in negotiations, and its purpose is the same. Making someone wait is a power signal, a circular one. It says, "We will do things on my time." And before the negotiation has even started, both parties have subtly agreed that the person who controls the time that the negotiation begins is more important. And that has lasting effects on your subconscious, which, if you're on the receiving end of this tactic, makes you more likely to negotiate a bad deal. Dealing with this is a topic for another video. Check out how he stands over Tyrion when wielding power over him.
You are an ill-made, spiteful little creature.
Dang.
Full of envy, lust, and low cunning.
Tywin is literally looking down on Tyrion, and if you've ever held a conversation while someone stood over you threatening you, you know how much more powerful this can make them seem.
Oh, yeah.
But people aren't always sitting and they aren't always dwarves, so another way that Tywin makes them feel his domineering presence is by invading their personal space. And he does this specifically at the exact moment that he's making his big point, so that they're more likely to react to his commands rather than resist them. Check out how he does it with Jaime here.
The future of our family will be determined in these next few months. We could establish a dynasty that will last 1,000 years. I need you to become the man you were always meant to be. Not next year, not tomorrow. Now.
With regards to changing the scenario, lastly and crucially, Tywin almost always creates a situation where he gets the last word. This means that the conversation is closed on his terms.
Yeah.
He does this either by commanding people to leave once he's made his point.
Speak no more of your rights to Casterly Rock. Go.
Or he does it by leaving the room as soon as he's made his point. He leaves no time or space for argument.
You can drink, you can joke, you can engage in juvenile attempts to make your father uncomfortable, but you will do your duty.
If you remember last week's video on Littlefinger, link in the corner right now, he does the same thing, just more gently. In either case, the discussion ends on the terms that Tywin and Littlefinger want it to end on. So remember, speaking last creates a lot of authority and has tremendous power. It's also likely to direct the other person's thoughts long after you've left. Though, of course, there are advantages to speaking first in terms of framing a situation. So maybe this is a topic that I need to dive deeper in on another video to uncover all of the nuances. But for now, remember that speaking last conveys a lot of power and authority. So, to wrap this section on body language up, check out this next clip and see how many of the specific sub-communications of power that you can count. There are a lot. Here we go.
You're still fertile. You need to marry again and breed.
I am Queen Regent, not some brood mare.
You're my daughter! You will do as I command, and you will marry Loras Tyrell. And put an end to the disgusting rumors about you, once and for all.
Father, don't make me do it again, please.
Not another word.
Dang.
My children. You disgraced the Lannister name for far too long.
That boy don't play.
Crazy how much is going on, right? Credit to Charles Dance here for nailing this portrayal. But I want to make clear, Tywin's character is not just about brute force or physical bullying. He is about strategic shows of force to keep people in line.
For sure.
And if you look back on the big events of the books, you'll know that things like the Red Wedding were brutal, but it left the entire realm in fear of what Tywin would do next should anyone cross him. Heck, the Martells waited nearly 20 years after Ellia's death before enacting their plot for revenge. That is the power of fear, and Tywin knows it.
Good. Let them remember what happens when they march on the south.
I could go on and on about Tywin's strategic genius, but others have already covered this topic really well, so I'm just going to link to some fascinating theories in the description. For you Game of Thrones super fans, here are some teasers for what you can see in those videos. First, Tywin may have covertly planned Aerys' capture at Duskendale way before the books, and planned for his assassination by proxy. Second, Tywin also likely turned Roose Bolton against Robb Stark as early as Book 1, which just shows how many steps ahead he was thinking. If those points meant nothing to you, it's okay. It means you're just a regular Game of Thrones nerd and not a complete super nerd like me. Anyway, Tywin is obviously dead at this point, which shows his only real flaw as a player in the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, was Tyrion.
His blind hatred of Tyrion, which may not be so blind given the paternity, but leave that aside. If Tywin had been able to see Tyrion's talents and use them for his own ends, I think that the Lannisters would still be totally dominating, with Tywin as the power behind Joffrey's throne, just as he was with Aerys. Only this time, Tywin probably would have removed the Mad King much sooner.
Tywin, man, he definitely was a beast, man. He definitely commanded respect. Even Cersei, she was she was going to marry
Cersei.
Yeah, Cersei. She was going to do what she was told. I mean,
all of them.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
All of the Lannister crew, even the one uncle. I don't know if it was his brother or his wife's brother, because he's in it. And yeah, I mean, when you were Lannister or a Casterly Rock member, I mean, you did what Tywin was. I mean, he was the one who led everything.
I'm sure you probably know Cersei's and Jaime. He probably heard the rumors, probably.
Oh yeah, because that's what he alluded to.
Yeah.
And I think he knew. It. That was probably a situation that he knew all along, but he didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
And so, and him asserting his power, he could not allude to that being any kind of truth to it at all.
Yeah.
He had to be defiantly against that.
Yeah.
Because that would really cast some doubt on their house.
Yeah. So. I guess he was more closer with Jaime out of the three.
Probably. I think Jaime and Cersei, obviously they were twins. And he loved them more. But differently. You know, because Jaime being a man and a
he had to lead,
fighter.
He had to take over,
he
take
was a
his
great
spot.
fighter, and so that. But I agree. I think he failed to realize that Jaime was the good fighter, but Tyrion had the strategic mind that Tywin had. Yeah. And I don't know that Tywin really gave Tyrion that credit, and that's what he said. And if he'd really realized how intelligent Tyrion was and like really used him and engaged with him, it could have been so much more done.
Well, I mean, he hated Tyrion so much because his wife died during childbirth.
Yeah,
he
blamed Tyrion
for that. Which is like, why would you blame him for that?
He didn't have anyone else to blame.
Yeah, so, yeah, man. Definitely a great video,
Yeah, it was really good. It was really interesting. I like the breakdown.
Make sure to subscribe to Charisma on Command. Definitely great info. I like how he put this together. He's definitely a super nerd when it comes to Game of Thrones.
Super informed Game of Thrones person.
Yeah. But Game of Thrones should be starting back in April. We can't wait for it. The season finale.
I know.
You know, of the
series
season.
finale.
Series finale. Series finale.
Oh, I'm so sad.
Yeah. But we're going to go to the end of this video. If you want to support our channel, you want to send us a special video request, check out the links to our Streamlabs. It's going to be in our description and it's going to be in our video cards. Check it out before you leave. Don't forget to subscribe.
And thumbs it up.
Turn on notifications. It's your man, Morty B.
And Nicole.
We're going to catch you on the next one. Stay awesome. Peace and love, baby.